So I'm down here heading southbound on Lakeshore Drive, and you can see in front of me, if you can't, but it's awesome. This building, that white spot at the top, sorry for the shaking, is National Louis. That's their college, National Louis, which purchased Kendall College, which is a culinary school and hospitality school. And I think they're now in that building, and it's a beautiful new building, so they have a vertical campus. But let me pan back out. This is a very beautiful view down here, as you can see this way. So my window's kind of, but you can see it's a very beautiful view here, heading southbound on Lakeshore Drive on the pullout. And so as I come around the bend, and the multicolored building is the Motorola building. And I've been a big fan of Motorola. I used to have a Motorola Razr, but I also, before I even had a Razr, at Baja, I had Motorola walkie-talkies. And I was the one who purchased all the walkie-talkies. So I met with my Motorola rep, and we had lots of walkie-talkies. So two-way radios. So sending and receiving communication. So anyways, we had them for the door staff and for management, so we can communicate between management and the door staff. Anyways, and heading down to the Field Museum is right down here, ahead of Lakeshore Drive. But as I said before, they need a beach. Somewhere they should have a beach, and somewhere in this area. So, and that you would do with a landfill. But you got the beautiful buildings right down here, that blue one and all that. These buildings are down here on South Michigan Avenue by Roosevelt, by Navy, by Soldier Field. So I'm going to add this video, with the Soldier Field. And so it says the unseen oceans. So what's below, basically. So it's the Field Museum is having a big thing on the unseen ocean, the things in the ocean that you don't see from the surface level. So anyways, I love the Field Museum. I mean, I'm a big fan of museums. I went to it numerous times, but my one field trip in school, we went down there and they had the U-boat, the German U-boat. I went on the German U-boat. It was out on the lake, and they attached to the museum from the lake, and we went out on the boat, and really it wasn't that tall standing up, and it had a lot of metal grates, and at the bottom they had all these numerous batteries lining the floor. So lots and lots of batteries, and it was diesel powered, and it was pretty cramped. So the submarine people were smaller people. But anyways, think about being in an ocean in one of those boats back then. You had to be pretty freaking brave to be a submarine person. So here's Soldier Field, and then Central Station's on the other side. And I'm going to go into Museum Park and exit here. 31st Street's the next exit. But this is before McCormick Place and all that. And then there's a video that I'll share from YouTube about the new Soldier Field that's supposed to break grounds in 2025. And it's supposed to move closer to McCormick Center, which makes sense, and it should have an underground tunnel connecting Soldier Field to McCormick Center, so people from McCormick Center can go underground straight to Soldier Field, and from Soldier Field straight to the McCormick Center. So the conventions can have all kinds of events in Soldier Field as well. So it needs to be an extension of the convention center. That makes it very valuable. So it can be used for all kinds of different applications, even monster truck event down in Soldier Field. They have it at the Rosemont, but the center of Soldier Field is even bigger, and you can have monster truck event. You can have all kinds of things in Soldier Field. So they point out some things, but it connects. And, you know, they have the underground walkway from McCormick Place into Soldier Field. But if they're going to do the renovation, they can figure out how they can connect these, you know, the Shedd Aquarium and Adler Planetarium. And then they have the boat docks here and Northerly Island. So again, I'll show you the map of everything that's down here. And they say the infrastructure part is 1 point something, say 1.2 billion, and then the stadium is 4 point something billion. But Soldier Field, Shedd Aquarium, Adler Planetarium, Field Museum, Northerly Island. So you have these 5 entities, and they have to figure out how to attach them. Like, they can have post games on Northerly Island. Truly, the Bears can do events on Northerly Island. You can have tailgating events on Northerly Island. Truly, Northerly Island. Go out there, have tailgating events. They have concerts, but they can connect it with before and after the game events on Northerly Island. So a lot of people go home, but there'll be an after crowd. It's a smaller area. And you can have these pre-games and after-game things on Northerly Island. The news station like Fox can set up on Northerly Island and do a before and after game like they do for college football. You know, they do the pre-game show. So anyways, they got to figure out how they're going to include this. And when they're doing this, they need to really include Central Station into this mix because it's part of it. It's on the other side of Lakeshore Drive, but still. And they're going to have to figure out this roadway as well. You know, there's all this roadway and everything here. And so how can it handle traffic? Like, you can valet park and come up here to the Shedd Aquarium. Like, we had an event for Chinese Chamber of Commerce. Or no, it was Castle, the Chinese American Service League we had at the Shedd Aquarium. So you can have events at the planetarium, the Shedd Aquarium. You can have events at Northerly Island. And so McCormick Center can use them, and you're out there on the island, and they can have all kinds of functions on Northerly Island from McCormick Center. Truly, all kinds of functions, because out during the summer, it's beautiful right there on the lake, and you can have, you know, all kinds of catering events like evening dinners and so on out on Northerly Island. Truly, evening dinner and music for different conventions coming to the city, like the International Indigenous People Convention, or like the American Native American Convention in the city of Chicago, and you can have it out on Northerly Island, these things. And in the wintertime, Northerly Island can turn into a skating ring. Truly, they can put a skating ring out on Northerly Island, and it would bring people into Northerly Island in the wintertime. So they got to figure out how they make this winter friendly, you know. What is the theme? We're coming up on Halloween. You know, in here it's a closed community, and you can make these things in this community very Halloween and so on, and they can put up, you know, things in the trees and so on, and they can really bring a lot of spirit, and a lot of people that live in Central Station can come up here, and, you know, that's your local crowd. So the whole point is they want to tap into the local market all around them. Even UIC, University of Illinois Chicago, is right there. National Louis is right there, and so on, and get them to come down here. College kids. How about date night at the Shedd Aquarium? I tried to go on a date at the Shedd Aquarium to see the beluga whales, and I got turned down. Then I tried to go on another date with Jen, and she didn't want to go in 2005, and That's when things happened in my relationship with my love of my life that weren't good. And I was going to go down here, but she didn't want to accept the tickets from Sandy, my friend, who is one of the persons that used to run the Shed Aquarium, and my roommate. And the whole point is that she didn't, she felt some animosity. So I've tried to go to the Shed, just like I tried to do a date at the Art Institute. Think of taking a date to the Field Museum. How about a date to the Adler Planetarium or the Shed Aquarium? As college kids, think about coming out down here and looking at the stars and checking out the whales and going to the Field Museum. And, they can do events for National Louis on Northerly Island out there, kind of recruiting concerts, or, they can do the fall semester now in August, September, but they could have had all kinds of events for UIC and National Louis and Roosevelt University and Illinois Institute of Technology that's down the street. And then they could have graduate events for Northwestern, for medical school, and for the University of Chicago out on Northerly Island. And it can be catered by all kinds of people. Lowe's Hotel here, I should say, can cater it. The Sheridan Hotel can cater it. They have catering and banquet staffs. They can cater it. So think of them for outside functions as well. That's one thing that hotels don't do, but they should, is have their staff that can cater off-site functions. Off-site. So you have your in-house ones, but you can also cater them. The Sheridan Hotel, its banquet staff can cater an event for the Field Museum. But they can do all kinds of events at Northerly Island. And the new Bears Stadium, they got to think, if they're doing the stadium, I think it's a great idea, and moving it and attaching it to McCormick Center, and then figuring out how they integrate it with conventions and integrate it with different events. Like, it was great when they did the solar eclipse at Adler Planetarium and Cheryl Scott was out there. It's a kind of a cool thing. Understanding how, our place in the solar system, and how the moon affects the earth. But you have Central Station down here, but you also have Columbia University. They could have did a kickoff event at Columbia University, but they can do an ice skating ring on Northerly Island as well. And and other things, winter festivals and so on. They can have, snowmobile stuff done at Northerly Island. And, build a little ski hill like they did in Rosemont. They built the ski hill, and you could ski down the hill at Rosemont. They built it, and they had a hockey ring, and they had hockey teams playing at Rosemont. And then they had a ski hill you could go down. And, but they can do different things for the winter with Northerly Island as well. And so you could have some kind of, holiday outdoor spectacular at Northerly Island for, the Christmas season or the holiday season. But you got Roosevelt University straight ahead, and it's right next to National Louis. Different buildings, but they're right next to each other. You can have a university event for all these: National Louis, Roosevelt, Columbia. They have undergrad, UIC, Illinois Institute of Technology, and Hyde Park, University of Chicago is a little further out, but they could include them. And they could have this inter-college mixer for undergrads at Northerly Island. So they have to think about how they can embrace the community, make this better for student experiences. And people want to go to school where they get not only a good education, but they get a very 4 years of wonderful experiences to remember. I have a lot of wonderful experiences at the U of A that I can look back on, that I smile about. And, I've had a little tragedy, but mostly very good things. So think about how to, and there's all these corporations down here. Like Prudential can have an event at Northern Ireland. Chase has its huge building, and it can have an event. And, you know, and then there's the Congress Hotel, the Grant Park Hotel, the Congress Hotel, the Hilton Hotel, so many other hotels down here. And so the new stadium coming in, it makes sense. And here's Central Station. And so you got all the train lines right here. And so they can have a shuttle on game day. You have to have a Bears ticket, but they have a shuttle waiting outside the train station. And the shuttle runs on, 15-minute intervals in that. And they can pick you up right there at the RTA. They have a shuttle bus, and it goes there. You load into it. It's in the right-hand lane. You load into it, and then it goes into the turn lane, and it goes around the block, and it takes you to Soldier Field and drops you off. And they can have underground parking, and if it's a bad weather day, it drops you off at the underground parking entrance to Soldier Field. So they can run a shuttle from there. And the bus can drop you off there at the train station, and you can wait for the shuttle, and the shuttle will take you to Bears Stadium. So they can have a shuttle bus running from the train to Soldier Field. And it can be for all kinds of events. If they're having rock concerts or the monster truck event or you name it. And now they can connect it more. And with the Dome, it's all year around, so they can have all kinds of events in there. So it's kind of cool. And so I think it'll be a good thing for this community and for all the universities right here. There's tons of colleges. And so they can have all kinds of interconnectivity. So Geno's East, and this area needs to move up in its food offerings and everything. And you have right here, you think Lakeside Bank would have an investment in the stadium. If I was Lakeside Bank, I'm a Chicago bank. I deal with a lot of traders on the exchanges, and they're building a new stadium. I would want some kind of sponsorship into the stadium. This is a good restaurant right here, the Firehouse. And it was an old firehouse, and they converted it. But I would have some kind of office. I would open up ATMs from Lakeside Bank in the stadium. Truly. And how about opening an account through an ATM? Truly. You can scan your ID now. And now you can put your ID in like a credit card, but it takes your ID in, it scans it front and back, it reads the strip, the ID, and gives it back to you. And then you can stick in a bank card and transfer money and open up an account via an ATM. You need that, and then they can send you out the paperwork, anything else you need to sign, and you can sign it. They take your image at the ATM and match it to the image on the ID. So they verify you, and then they could say, put your finger on for a physical ID as well, matching your fingerprint. Because remember, banks make you put your fingerprint on checks if you're a non-customer. They don't cast a check unless you put your thumbprint on. That way, they can chase the thumbprint back to the person that cashed the fraudulent check. So if you're a non-customer of the bank, you have to put a thumbprint on the check. And that's why anyone laundering money, they want accounts that are opened under fraudulent. That way they don't have to give a physical thumbprint. But if they're putting a thumbprint on the checks for non-customers, every customer opening the bank account should have a thumbprint on the bank account anyways. Truly. And it can go into a system for anti-fraud. So they can the banks work with the clearinghouses, and they share their thumbprints of their customers. And so you can protect corporate checks and everything with that too. So making sure they don't counterfeit. And so it can be an anti-counterfeiting. But this is Central Station. I used to live right over 1515 South Prairie. And I'll take you up to McCormick Center, which is right up the street. But they have the boat docks and everything over there. So the new thing should include an enhanced marina, working with water taxis. And then you can go out on a cruise ship. You enhance the marina so boats from Navy Pier can pick up and drop off at that. So you can go on a Chicago cruise, an after-game cruise on the lake, or an after-game cruise. And it's summertime. You have concerts, and you can go a cruise on the Spirit of Chicago and then come back and get dropped off for the concert. And then you could go on, the Sea Dog afterwards or whatever. But they need to think about, if they're doing this new stadium, how they include Navy Pier. And then they got the new casino coming in, and how it's going to work with sports betting. Like the Cubs opened up something right at Wrigley Field related to sports betting. But they already have it at horse tracks, so you can place on-site bets. So I don't see it being bad at a football game where you can place on-site bets, and there's a cage, and you can go to the cage and directly see the things, and they have sheets on the spreads, and you can place bets at the stadium. So, but you don't want them too big, so you would limit the amount of action you can play. But again, you want to make it more fun, so you can place $100 or $200, or maybe the maximum bet's $1,000. Truly. But they want to limit the amount of, how much you can place. You're there for the game and the excitement, and betting on it adds a little bit more thrill. You can bet on who's going to win the coin flip, and, will somebody run back the ball for a touchdown, or will they run back a punt? How many fumbles in a game? Truly, how many interceptions the quarterback will have, how many times the quarterback will be. Now, a rush you can't do, but how many times the quarterback sacked, and, how many sacks there are, how many fumbles there are, how many times a team punts the ball. Truly, the under-over on how many times the team punts the ball, how many times the team runs the ball in the first half, compared to how many times the team throws the ball in the first half. And then you can bet on it overall game. You can bet on it first half and second half, and then you can bet on overall, how many times they threw the ball. And then you can do under-over on how many yards they ran for compared to in the first half, then in the second half, then overall, how many yards did they get in passing, first half, second half, how many interceptions will they have. Now, you're looking for a defensive. Will the defensive team return a fumble or interception for a touchdown? Those are long shot bets. It doesn't happen a lot, of fumble recovery for a touchdown or interception return for a touchdown, but it does happen. But not anyway. Will they have one or two? Most of the time, two almost never happens. One is unlikely, more than likely zero, but you're betting one or two. The interception, so you're getting from the defensive end. How many tackles a player will have? How many tackles will the defensive line have? How many tackles will the linebackers have? How many tackles will the cornerbacks have? How many total interceptions will they have? How many fumble recoveries will they have? How many yards against, running yards against the defense? You're betting from the defense. Will they keep them under 100 yards? Will they keep them under 200 yards? Will they keep them under 100 yards throwing? Will they keep them under 200 yards throwing? From the defense. So you're reversing it. Instead of how many yards they have, how many, it's how many yards, but how many yards did they prevent? They only allowed, 100 yards running, 200 yards passing. So you can pick the under-over in those. And they can do it in 25-point segments. You have to be within a range of 25 points. So if they, you pick 200 points and they only had 174 yards passing, you lose. And so, or they can have a hard line. Over 175 points, it doesn't matter. 175 yards running, say. But say over 100 yards running and under 100 yards you lose. So it's a hard line, but they can make it a range within 25 points, within 50 points. And the bigger the range, the lower you win. The tighter the range to win or lose, meaning under or over 100 yards, that's the most you get paid. And the least you get paid is, say, there's a 50-point range. So they can get 50 yards. If it's 51 yards or greater, you win. And if it goes over 150 yards, you lose. So it's a 50-yard range from 100 yards. So you have to get 51 yards, or you have to get, less than 150 yards. And so that range bet pays off, but it doesn't pay off as much. As the range gets greater, it's more likely to happen. So how much it pays would be less. And there's all this land down here too. So I don't know what they're doing down here, but there's tons of land. They can make this another park or something, right off of Martin Luther King Drive. Now, in the new Bears Stadium, they could have a statue to Martin Luther King Drive. Since they're going to redo it, why not honor Martin Luther King, which I do. I'm honest about him, but I love the guy, and he did the best. His heart was pure, and so my stuff is in 2020 is hindsight. So he was doing the best with what he had. So I can't fault him in that aspect. I can only critique him from 2020 hindsight. But he was trying to do the best, what he thought was the best, and he had a good heart, and his intentions weren't ill will, and that he did make mistakes. And so they could have a statue to Martin Luther King. We could have a Martin Luther King celebration at Soldier Field. I'm not opposed to that. MLK Day and having an MLK Fest at Soldier Field, a one-day fest, and honoring him on Martin Luther King's birthday. I used to donate blood on his birthday. Every birthday, Martin Luther King, I kept it private, but then I told people on Facebook, every day on Martin Luther King's anniversary, I donated blood. And so it was my way of saying thank you. I appreciate it. The effort. Did it work out the best? I don't think it worked out totally great. But either way, I used to give blood in his honor. So every Martin Luther King holiday, I gave blood. And I did it for numerous years. Now, I've stopped doing it, but I gave it for numerous years to the Red Cross and Life Source. And I do it intentionally to honor Martin Luther King. So I don't know if they ever have a blood drive, come down and to honor Martin Luther King holiday, donate blood. I would, but I did that myself. It was something between me and him. I kept private until I opened up about the different things I was doing. But all those things were done without any thought of ever telling anyone. My thing was never, if I didn't have a certain commandment to open my mouth, I wouldn't have opened my mouth. So I just did that as a personal thing to honor him, from me to him. And I believe in the spirit. I believe he's in heaven. So he was a good man. He was a good husband. Tried to be a good father. That's why I worked for his charity, I Have a Dream. So you have the Hilton Hotel, and then you have Wintrust, another arena right here by Soldier Field. And, so again, this is a basketball arena. I would think, IIT would use this arena. I don't know where Illinois, University of Illinois Chicago, or UIC, where their basketball team plays, but they can play here. And Illinois Institute of Technology's basketball team can play here, and so can Hyde Park. It's not too far away. But DePaul, It's way far away from their campus. So I think, and the Chicago Sky play here. And so it's a right-size arena. And eventually, hopefully they get enough crowd and the Chicago Sky moves to the United Center. Truly, they should think about moving to the United Center if they can draw enough. If they can't, then it's a waste of space. And it's better to stay here, but University of Chicago can play its basketball games here. So can Illinois Institute of Technology. So can UIC. And DePaul should build a stadium near its main campus in Lincoln Park. They should sell this, or at least lease it to them. And they can. Then you have Roosevelt University, Columbia University, Robert Morris University, and then National Louis, that's right here. And I don't know if they have any athletic teams, but it can be used for volleyball teams. They can change it, and it can have its own ice arena. Now, there's Johnny's Ice House, but that doesn't have seating. So the college hockey teams can play at the Wintrust, and they can add in, truly, they can modify Wintrust and add in an ice arena like they do at the United Center. But this is for, University of Chicago's hockey team, Roosevelt's hockey team, Robert Morris, Illinois Institute of Technology's hockey team, UIC's hockey team, and they can play at the Wintrust. So it's more conducive to a smaller crowd, the seating in that. It's perfect for college sports. And volleyball can play there, both men and women volleyball. And so a lot of college sports can play at the Wintrust Arena. And they have so many colleges around, that arena would be busy all the time. So they would schedule it because they would break up on days they would be home and days they would be away, and the colleges would work together to schedule it when they're playing home games and when they're playing away games. And you can, on a Saturday, maybe UIC plays at noon, and then at 5 p.m., Illinois Institute of Technology plays, and then you have, say, 7 or 8 p.m., 8 p.m. game, a late night game, and that's good for college kids. And so you have an 8 p.m. game. Say you need 3 hours between. The game takes an hour and something minutes, and then you got to clear out the crowd. You got to reset, and then the new crowd's got to come in. So you might need 3 hours or 4 hours. So maybe the game starts at 11 o'clock. Yeah, the game starts at 11 o'clock. And then it finishes, say it's 2 hours, so it finishes at 1 o'clock. And then you got to reset the stadium. The people got to clear out, reset. And so you have about an hour or so in between. And so that's 1 to 2. They clear out and then start cleaning. And then the new crowd can come in about 2:15, 2:30, and you have a 3 o'clock game. And then that game gets done, and then you have a 7 o'clock game. And so 3 schools can have hockey teams play in one day. So they can have a noon, 3, and 7 p.m. game. So you'd have to structure it out, and you'd have to be very efficient at the turnover. But you can have 3 games in one day from 3 different colleges. And so you can do that on Saturdays. Friday night games. I don't think you'll have day games on Friday, but in colleges, maybe you can have some day games during the week, but mostly you'd have night games. So all those universities, Columbia University, Robert Morris University, Roosevelt University, I don't see anything much for Robert Morris, but it used to be here. And, National Louis, did National Louis buy Robert Morris too? I don't know. They bought Kendall and merged with it. So, again, this is in Central Station here in Chicago, and this part of the new Bears Stadium, right? And so you have Grant Park. Why don't the Bears host events at Grant Park? And like I said, they can host events at Nordley Island, but they can do all kinds of events. They can do, punt catch and kick, outdoor events here. They don't need the stadium. And they can do events with kids, the Play 60 events at Grant Park. Truly, the Play 60 events at Grant Park, maybe Northerly Island, maybe Grant Park, a mixture. But the Bears can host all kinds of events, the Play 60 events at Grant Park, like flag football. The Bears can sponsor flag football and touch football and frisbee football. Truly, frisbee football, now frisbee tag, frisbee flag football, then regular football. Truly, regular football, touch and flag, and then they can have a kids league with Nerf football. Nerf football and kids league with frisbee football. And the frisbee can be more foam than hard plastic for the kids, and so it can be a Nerf frisbee. And so if they fall, it just crumbles up really easy. And so they can have a Nerf football league for kids here, like baseball has a T-ball league. And so they put the ball on a tee and you hit it off a tee. The pitchers are too young to throw the ball. They don't have enough control, and so they have a T-ball league. My nephew, little Larry, played T-ball at Gompers Park, and I used to go to his games. So they can have all kinds of football leagues for both men and women right here at Grant Park, and the Chicago Bears can sponsor those leagues. And so they can sponsor them in the spring and in the fall and the summer. You can play flag football in the summer. So they can have 3 seasons of leagues. Now, the winter, it's a little cold outside and that. You might not have a winter league, but you definitely would have a fall, spring, and summer leagues. And you can have them for senior league, adult league, and then different children league, teenage league, and then pre-teen league. So the Chicago Bears can do all that at Grant Park. And so they can really get involved in the community, and the community can draw from others, and they can do it with the business world. Not only for people putting teams together of friends, but they can tap in, the Chicago Bears can tap into all the corporations around here, and they can sponsor those leagues. Now their staff sets up and controls the leagues and brings in the referees and so on, and you pay for the league. And if you don't have enough money, the Bears will sponsor you, or a local bar can sponsor the team. Yeah, or a local Subway restaurant can sponsor a local flag football team. So they can have all that at Grant Park, besides frisbee golf and other things they can do that's not about them, but about the PGA. So there's a lot of things they can do with Grant Park that they're not doing, and we'll turn down here, a harsh turn, but this is where Columbia is. And then at the end is Trump Towers. So they can have a team that plays flag football or frisbee golf, and you can play frisbee baseball too. Surely with a more Nerf frisbee, and you would, just like we play kick baseball where you throw the ball, you can throw it to the first baseman, but also as they're running, you can throw the ball and hit them and get them out as well. You don't tag them, but you can tag them with the ball as well. You can tag them with the ball, you can throw the ball at them and hit them with the ball, as long as they're not on the base, in the base path, and they can be out. And so you can tag them with the ball, you can hit them with the ball, and you can physically touch them with the ball. And so they can do baseball, frisbee baseball, and with a Nerf frisbee, and that way they throw it, and because you're hitting them and you don't want it to hurt them or anything, so you still want it to fly, but you don't want it to hurt. And so they can do a Nerf frisbee, and you throw it at them, and if you hit them, but if you miss them, the runner can continue to run. So if you miss them, they can run, like throwing it at them in kickball. If they miss you, you keep on running. So it's a risky thing to throw the ball at them, because if they do miss you, and you can jump and you can dive down, surely people dive to miss the throw and hit the ground and get up because the throw goes over them, or they jump and the throw goes under them, or they stop and the throw goes in front of them or back of them. So there's lots of ways, and you can bounce the ball to hit them, and you can skip a frisbee off the ground as well if you don't know. And we used to do it with frisbee football. It makes it different. You can skip the frisbee off the ground. With frisbee golf or frisbee football and frisbee baseball, you can throw it and skip it off the ground as well, and then you can throw it for a hit with frisbee baseball. So you're trying to throw it between the gaps and everything. And so, so you have Frisbee baseball and all that. And so the whole point is you can get all these colleges involved, and you can get the community involved, and then the businesses involved, and they can have all kinds of different recreational activities. And so you have all these academic institutions here, and this should be a very vibrant, beautiful area. And they need to live here. There should be dormitories here and that. I don't know where Columbia's dormitories are. I don't know where National Louis or Roosevelt's dormitories, but they can have a mixed dormitory. There's dormitories over there. And so I don't know what schools are in those dorms. But again, and then you have the Westin Hotel that's up here. No. So this is Columbia's right here. You see Columbia. And Columbia obviously should be with the Chicago Art Institute, Contemporary Photo Museum, Museum of Contemporary Photos. And so you can have all kinds of. Ansel Adams did his posters with photos. And so photos can go to posters, and photos can be painted too. You can take a photo and then do a painting of the photo as you want. But again, it says after school, that's Blue Cross Blue Shield. They do different announcements on their building. And then right between it, you got Blue Cross Blue Shield. Between it is the Aon building. Aon's an insurance company in Chicago. It used to be the Standard Oil building. My friend Todd Radunsky's father worked there. And Mr. Radunsky and Mrs. Radunsky, they were great to me. I loved those two. Their parents, his parents were awesome. To me, they were super good to me. I used to love talking to his father and his dad worked for Standard Oil, and that was the Standard Oil building, now the Aon building, and Mr. Radunsky worked in the Standard Oil building right there, and it's a cement building. And then to the left of it, you see Prudential. So you got Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aon building, and then Prudential, and then across you got Motorola. And then the Congress Hotel's behind me. And then you got the statues. I don't know what the guy riding the horse is about, but I don't know the plaque. But again, there's a lot of historical stuff in Chicago, a lot of good things. So I don't know where the big bus is, but the big bus is all year round. They do it all year round in New York. So I would assume the tours go all year round on the big bus here. And so you have all this going on, and then you have the subway entrance right here. And I don't know what line that is, but you can hear, and they have the architectural tour. How many cities have an architectural tour? I'll go by the train line, but the loop line, it just wraps around the inner city. This is unique, this elevated line that wraps around the internals of the city. And they have an architectural tour, and then they can have, like a Santa Claus tour, and they can hook up, or you can get off on one train line and get on. And they have the hot chocolate tour in Chicago, and then they have the hot chocolate 5K and 3K running events, the hot chocolate. And then down here by Grant Park, they have the Shamrock Shuffle. And I run that numerous years. I ran it last in 2006, but I ran it with Jen as well before 2006. And then you think the Irish heritage community would be part of the Shamrock Shuffle, and McDonald's would put out its Shamrock Shake, especially for the Shamrock Shuffle, right? McDonald's Shamrock Shake for the Shamrock Shuffle. McDonald's can sponsor the Shamrock Shuffle, and then they can have the American heritage community sponsoring, and then they can make it an event where they display American heritage in Chicago. Irish heritage in Chicago. So here's the train line, and they do an architectural tour. And it's really cool. It goes around the loop, and you take it, and it's only on the weekends. But it does an architectural tour. I've never taken it. That's the only architectural tour I haven't taken. I've taken numerous architectural tours of Chicago. So here you go. Here's Robert Morris. So you see Robert Morris right there. So this is Integration, Robert Morris Integration Center. So I don't know what it's doing. Maybe it's moved from here. But it's right across from the from Harold Washington Library. And I don't know where the plaques of Harold Washington are in anything, but now we have the Obama Library coming in. Now we have a presidential library, our first presidential library with Obama, but we've had several presidents from the state of Illinois, and now this was the first only library built for a mayor, the Harold Washington Library. It's a beautiful library. I've been inside. It's huge. It's beautiful. And so this is the elevated line. And this goes right down to the financial district. This is Plymouth. And you have clubs on this. You have the Union League somewhere around here. You have the Standard Club, there's the Jewish Club. And then the Union League. And then you have the University Club in Chicago. And that's just you have to have a university degree, undergraduate degree, to be part of the University Club, and you have to have 3 recommendations from 3 members. 3 members have to recommend you to be able to join the University Club. I think it's 2 or 3 that have to recommend you. Their current members have to recommend you. You can't just apply to get in. You have to also have 3 recommendations or 2 recommendations from current members to get into the University Club. But do you think the University Club goes to Columbia College and talks about joining? You have to graduate from college to join, but once you graduate Columbia, join the University Club. They go to UIC, Robert Morris, Roosevelt University, and you think the University Club goes to these different schools, University of Chicago, Northwestern, even to Northwestern's law school, DePaul's law school, UIC's law school, and so on, and talking about joining membership, do presentations at the different universities here about joining the University Club. And so you have to, I don't know, besides the 3 letters in graduating college or the 2 letters in graduating college, it might be 2, might be 3, I forget, but you have to graduate college and get at least 2 recommendations to join the University Club. And then they have the Standard Club, and my friend Asha, she's a member of the Standard Club. And this is Financial Place, and this is the Financial District. And, but I don't know if they have tours of the Financial District or anything else. But, when they're doing this new infrastructure and they're going to do the new stadium and they're building out all this infrastructure, they have to enhance the logistics of people moving via car, via bicycle, via scooter, via walking. And then they have to include some shuttle buses that pick you up and take you to Soldier Field during the game. Designated CTA buses, like they do for the Cubs game. You can take a bus all the way down Addison. You do the remote parking at Lane Tech, and then the CTA has buses at Lane Tech. They work with the Chicago Cubs, and you park at Lane Tech. Lane Tech gets money from their parking lot, and it helps fund Lane Tech. Truly. So the Cubs are giving money to Lane Tech. They get a part of the proceeds from the parking, and then the Chicago, the CTA gets money for taking the bus. It's part of the parking fee. So Lane Tech gets a little royalty, and the CTA gets money, and you take the bus up Addison, but you park all the way far, and it pumps money into those communities. It's right off the highway, off of Addison, and you park at Lane Tech, and you take the CTA bus up, and you take the CTA bus back. What does the Bears do with that? They can have parking in Greektown up here. Greektown. Park in Greektown, park in Chinatown, and take a shuttle bus on the CTA designated to the Bears game, and then they'll drop you back off in Greektown. They'll drop you back off in Chinatown. And they can do it when the Rolling Stones play. When they have big concerts or other big events, they can set up the shuttle bus, and you can park in Chinatown and eat or go to Chinatown afterwards. So you park in Chinatown, you go to the game, and then you take the bus back, get off in Chinatown and hang out in Chinatown, and then you get in your car and go home. And the same with Greektown. The shuttle bus from Greektown there, and they can have a shuttle bus from Greektown that also serves for University of Illinois Chicago students, and it takes them to Soldier Field and then back to Greektown, drops them off, because UIC is right by Greektown and it's not too far from Chinatown. So the Chicago Bears can integrate it like the Cubs, and the Cubs can do more than what they've done. So they can have more remote parking, taking the pressure off of Wrigley Field. And so they can have remote parking down south, and you take a CTA shuttle bus, and so from somewhere down south from Wrigley Field, and then somewhere down north, and then you can't go really east because it's not too far from the lake, but they already have the one west, but they can do other remote, not just down Addison, but maybe down Irving Park. And they can have a shuttle bus, and you do remote parking down somewhere down Irving Park, and you take a shuttle bus up to Irving, it turns on Clark and drops you off at Wrigley Field, and then takes you back down Clark and then Irving Park and drops you off at the remote parking somewhere, further down away from Wrigley Field. So they can more work with the CTA, and then they can have remote parking with the RTA. RTA has a place in Jefferson Park. You can park in Jefferson Park and take the RTA down to the Cubs game. Park in Jefferson Park, take the RTA down to the Sox game. Park in Jefferson Park, you take the RTA down, and then you get off, and then you pick up the shuttle bus in front of the station, I said, for the RTA, and you take the shuttle bus from the RTA, the CTA shuttle bus, to Soldier Field. And so down here on the other side of the bridge is Greektown. So this is Des Plaines Avenue, and then on the other side of the highway here, that underpass is right here. Here's H Mart. I call it Holy Mart. H is for holy. So Holy Mart, H Mart. So holy Koreans run H Mart. So Holy Mart. And so holy people shop at H Mart. Anyways, here is Greektown. And you have a Giordano's, but UIC's right down the street, and you have a train stop right there, and you can get off at that train stop and catch the CTA shuttle to the Bears game, or the CTA shuttle at that train stop to the Sox game when they're having Sox game. Shuttle from Greektown, shuttle from Chinatown to the Sox Park. So they can set up all this remote parking, working with the CTA and RTA, and shuttle people to the parking, and it puts less congestion around Sox Park, puts less congestion around Wrigley Field, and less congestion around Soldier Field, and they're shuttling people in and out via bus. And so it's easier to fill the stadium, and it spreads out the parking, and it shares the wealth with other areas of the city of Chicago. Truly. And so the teams are thinking about how they can include other areas of the city of Chicago through remote parking. The God has to go right here in the truck in front of me. So there's the God in the SUV. So they got, they're doing very, very important things. So I got to get out of their way. Everybody, I'm the scum and filth of the earth, and they're the gods, and I just need to get out of their way. I'm just the filth. So I let them go by, because they're all the gods, and they're doing such important things for the city, and such important things for the world and universe and everything else, that I got to get out of the way, all these gods. So they push me around constantly, and they tailgate me constantly, and they terrorize me constantly. It's not it. It's been unbelievable for 8 to 9 years. They terrorize me night and day. So, it's ridiculous. And so they want horrible things said about them. Well, in that aspect, They're scumbags. I guess the city of Chicago embraces all the scumbags, because anyone who terrorizes me in any way, shape, or form, as God said, considers them demons, and they're going to damnation, and they consider them terrorists, and he doesn't care who they are or what they've done before or after. There is no repentance. It is condemning. So, but I guess they're just so important, they think they created hell on earth for me. Truly, people here have created hell on earth. Hell on earth. This is hell. And every day, it's hell for me on earth. So all these people are demons. They're scum. So they push me around, spit on me, beat me, hit me, deprive me economically. They do unbelievably horrible things to me every single day. And the mayor of Chicago, the aldermen, the city council, the Cook County board, the governor, and state Congress, it seems they all bless these people. Go ahead, feel free to terrorize Michael. And the city of Chicago won't do anything. Cook County won't do anything. The state of Illinois won't do anything. The federal government won't do anything. And they come down here for a transvestite to Peloton. And for the one kid, they forced the whole school to change. And he had anything, incomplete access. And Obama sent down the lawyers and threatened to pull funding and threatened to lock people up and everything for one transvestite kid. One transvestite kid. And they brought the full force of the U.S. government down on Peloton, in particularly one school in Peloton, and forced them to change. They broke them. So I'm waiting, and God's watching. And I want the full force of the United Nations brought down on them too. So, including the full force of every country in the world on people that aggravate me. And as God said, like Judas, and I am telling you, as God said, as Jesus said, let them be. And if they end up ending their life, so be it. He should have never done what he did. So, and when he did it, he went to eternal damnation. But they were told to let him be. Do not assist him in any way, shape, or form. He needs to suffer for his thing. And so when they do the evil, they must suffer, and you can't intercede. You cannot intercede. Not even if they're going to end themselves. So you have to understand that. Read the Bible, what Jesus did with them. They were told to stand down and let it take its course. And whatever they do, they do. They made that decision to bring it upon them. They must suffer the consequences of their decision. So anyways, I'm going to end this video, but going down here, I'm on Halstead, which leads to Greektown, which just off of Halstead is Chinatown, which is Fulton Market and many other things. And if I go straight down this, I come upon Halstead and Chicago Avenue, which is the new casino. And so, like I told you, the new stadium for the Chicago Bears, tying into the new casino, tying into all this infrastructure and community, and life can be wonderful. But I have all these people trying to terrorize me on a continuous basis. Go figure. I'm trying to bring heaven to earth, and they're trying to bring terrorism into my life in every day, in every way. So, they're demons. So, they're Satan's legion. So anyways, This goes down and connects to where the new casino. This is the Congress. That's Congress that goes through there on the bridge under it. It's the Congress extension from 290 going into Congress, the street that goes into Buckingham Fountain and the Congress ends at Buckingham Fountain or Grant Park. This is the new former Tribune and the new casino that's coming in, groundbreaking in 2025. So I don't understand. These people must be insane. This whole city must be demons. But anyways, and then this building right here was Kendall College, and it still has its sign on top of it. It says Kendall College, and then here's the cement, and they need to move this, and then this is the Chicago River that goes through, and that's old Montgomery Ward's warehouse, and next to it was the Montgomery Ward's office building. But anyways, and then you can keep on going down. This hits Division, and that ties into, Division Street, the Golden Triangle, Rush Division State and Oak, the Golden Triangle. It ties into that, and that ties into the Magnificent Mile. And then if you farther go down, you get into Bucktown. Bucktown is both off of Division and North Avenue. If you go west down Division or west down North Avenue, you go into Bucktown, and so it ties into that. And so, they really need to think about how they're going to tie in all these communities so they can spread the wealth, what we call share the wealth. And so they can, in different ways, through remote parking and other ways, to extend the wealth into these different communities. So, anyways, I'm going to leave the video. Let me just go down here. This I want to do. This is like, free falling. This is how you learn how to free fall. Before you ever go parachuting, you need to learn how to fall. And they can do parachute training in this place. So you learn how to lay out and fly, and then they can release, because you're in the wind, they can release the parachute. You can learn how to pull the parachute. And they can do all kinds of training in there for skydiving. Lots of skydiving training, and they can work with a skydiving organization. So you get certified there. Then you have to go to a jump site where you jump off a tower, and it's with bungees, and then you pull the chute, and then you learn how to land, and you have to do the training off a tower, and you have to learn how to land and everything. But again, they do part of the training, and then they do the other part of the training, and then you get certified to do a joint jump with an instructor. It's a tandem jump. So REI can be part of it. REI, I would assume, does all kinds of skydiving gear and everything, and they can be part of iFly. Matter of fact, REI should buy it, iFly, and should be big into parachuting, kayaking. You kayak the Chicago River. But if you watch Magnum PI, he kayaks the ocean. You can kayak Lake Michigan. And so you can do all kinds of different types of boating, but kayaking on Lake Michigan, kayaking the Chicago River. And so REI would be perfect to buy iFly. And so parachuting and all that. And then, after the sporting events, and this is where Rick's Cabaret, after the Bears game, come to Rick's Cabaret. Or watch the Bears game at Rick's Cabaret. Yeah, they can have the Bears on the screen and do things, and between the quarters, you can get dances, and at halftime, you can get dances. But between that, so they have a limited amount of girls, but between the breaks and then after the breaks, they can have an after party for the Bears game. It's really people coming down, Rick's Cabaret right here, coming down after the Chicago Bears game, and then there's a nightclub right to it. And then there's Whole Foods. This is the corporate store for Whole Foods. And this is their, corporate store, which sets the trend for all the other Whole Foods around Chicagoland and maybe through the state. But it's their corporate store where I used to go all the time. So they had a corporate Starbucks on Rush. That's their corporate store that sets the trend for the Starbucks. Starbucks is in Chicago area. That's on Rush Street. I used to study there, and for the CFA and other designations I got at that Starbucks on Rush. So, and then back to country, and they have a little mall right here. And then going further down, and I guess I'll post this on YouTube, too long for Facebook. But anyways, going down on the other side of North Avenue is where you have the scrap metal yard, and this is where the Lincoln Park project is supposed to come in, right? The back of the yards and all that. And it ties in with the new Bears Stadium. And I still think they should move the Sox Park onto the river. But that's besides me. And they can make it a dome stadium like they're doing, and it would be retractable. And the Bears is not going to be retractable. They're doing it a little different way and have an open air end of the stadium. But Sox Park can have a dome stadium, so it can be used for all year-round events. That's the problem, not having it can't be used for all kinds of other events all year round. So this area back here is the Lincoln Yards project. And so they have one building going up, but this used to be the scrap metal industry. I don't know where they put it, but I would assume if you have a scrap metal place, you put it near a steel mill, right? You want the train line to go from the scrap metal place to the steel mill, and so you can bring scrap metal in from all over the country via train, and you can bring it in via semi-truck, but it's better train. But semi-trucks to get it to the train yard, and then from the train yard to the scrap metal site, which should be fairly close to this, the steel plant. But steel makes aluminum, steel. It's a metal plant, and it makes all forms of metal. It can recast copper, aluminum, steel, manganese, many other types of alloys. So it's really an allied plant, and that's what they should be. Not just U.S. Steel, but it's an ally plant, and they do all kinds of alloy, ALLOY. And so the scrapyard feeds them with recycled material, and then they can upgrade it. When they bring it in, the funny thing is, the old stuff stinks in comparison to the new stuff, and so when they bring in the scrap, they can add nanoparticles and other things they do with quenching and many other things, and they can make it way better than it was. But the thing is, it's going to be denser and so on, and there's other ways to lighten the material. But either way, they're taking the old and making it even better than it was. So they're upgrading it. And so the material gets an upgrade. So this is the Elston Corridor. So, and then I'm going to go up here to Subway. There's Kid Snip and everything. And so I don't know what they're doing. The storage thing here is usually when the neighborhood is run down, and then once the neighborhood gets better, they convert the storage to some other use. Maybe they convert it to condos. That storage can be converted into condominiums right here in Elston area. So converting storage units into condominium complex. And they don't need the storage. People got storage in their... And so usually they put storage on cheap land, so they make money on cheap land. And it can store things for not only individuals, but for corporations. So corporations should be their number one thing. They can store all kinds of things, office furniture, whatever, in the storage thing. So they should really focus on corporations. But anyways, I'm down here on the Elston Corridor, and they can convert that. And they can convert it into condominiums, maybe.